Sensex Nifty off day's low as auto stocks gain. Nifty PSU Bank falls nearly 1%. FMCG Auto Index extend rally. Oil and gas emerges as the top loser. Media, metals trade flat. And Tata Coffee and Tata Consumer shares surge to life highs after announcing the effective date of merger on the 1st of January. Kalpataru project surges over 8% on winning international orders worth 3,244 crore rupees. Welcome. You're watching Hot Money. I'm Hiral Dadia, and with me is Agam Vakil. Clearly, if you go to see, it's going to be an interesting day of trade, the last trading day of the year, Agam. And from here on, how the markets are looking like and what's in store for 2024 is going to be absolutely crucial.
Absolutely, Hiral. It's well, we're looking at a little bit of moderation in prices in today's day of trade, but on the whole, of course, it's been a very, very strong year. We're closing near life highs, and even though we've seen the benchmarks come off by around a little bit for the morning, well, all this, I'm sure that a lot of traders and investors are not going to be unhappy with the kind of returns that they've seen. At least as far as the benchmarks go, we have in fact seen them recover from day's lows today, and they are inching back towards green. Can we expect green today? Well, if does happen, it's going to be significant, but well, you know, it's a wait and watch on that one. You know, before we move on to the rest of the elements, I want to very quickly mention the broader markets and the key movers in the broader markets as well. So while the mid cap and the small cap indices are trending higher and they're outperforming the benchmarks, we do have Vodafone Idea, which is up around 8.2%. This is of course one of the bigger movers in today's day of trade. Hiral has alluded to Kalpataru Power as well on account of a very large order win, because of which that is also up and about, gaining significantly in today's day of trade, up nearly 9%. Crompton and Greaves is the other one, up 4%, also advancing by quite a bit. And we have gains in Ashok Leyland, that's up around 3.5%. In fact, from the EV space, or a lot of these players who are now putting more investments towards EV, we have along with the Ashok Leyland, we also have Tata Motors, pardon me, which is up and about and advancing. And on the losing end, we don't have too much to speak for, except for something like an HPCL and Oil India under a tad bit of pressure. But do remember that these two companies have also had a reasonably good quarter coming through. So we'll be keeping an eye on that one overall, Hiral.
Absolutely. And with this, let's just quickly pull up the sugar pack on the screens and see what's happening on that front. Clearly, Sri Renuka to a Balrampur Chini to a Praj or Triveni, all of these will be in focus in today's day of trade. There you go. You are seeing that positive momentum over the last couple of trading sessions. And the reason why this uptick comes in over here is on the back of the news that we are picking up from our sources as well, that have indicated to NDTV Profit that all marketing companies have gone ahead and increased the price of ethanol from C-heavy molasses by 14% to 56.3 rupees per litre, and this is for ethanol supply with regards to sugar year 23-24. To discuss more, joining us on the show is Praful Vitlani, founder and chairman of ISTA, and after that we'll have the management of Sri Renuka also with us. Mr. Vitlani, good afternoon and welcome to the show. Very quickly, we are picking up from our sources with regards to where the increase in price is concerned. What is it that you're picking up, and what would it mean for the sugar industry?
It's a good win by, first of all, we can say in stock exchange for the psychologically thought that the way sudden order was came on 7th of December, that was seeking for the sugar industry. But this is giving a clear indication that government is not against sugar industry. The 6 rupees 87 paisa rise is one news which is always it is confirmed, because the government have written to the OMC to increase that C molasses price, and OMC's written communication we have received. So that is confirmed, number one. Number two, according to some news, what we are getting is that C molasses exports likely to be having 50% export duty. So instead of this material going to export, it can be used directly here for the ethanol in India itself. So it's a win-win situations for, we can say, sugar industry. And so material will be also available. And one thing more is that C molasses, we cannot produce sugar. It can be ethanol or it can be export. So while export almost banned by 50% and increase in the price by 14%, this is a good indications that sugar mills are live and they are being survived.
Right. Mr. Vitlani, my second question coming to you is from a margin perspective, and to see how to counter, navigate from the earlier, notification that came in from the government with regards to where banning of sugarcane juice was concerned. With that pricing and with this, by how much do you think companies will be able to earn better margins?
See, I cannot predict that all margins will be covered up. But yes, there is, first time it was first aid, and now it is slightly a good treatment. But it is not totally cured. And second thing I can say that a mill called Uttam Sugar. Now this mill doesn't have that much capacity to produce ethanol from juice and syrup and all. They have good capacity from C molasses. So it will depend on other, units who their capacities are there for the C molasses, like Renuka profitable, Belrampur Chini profitable, Uttam Sugar maximum profitable. But overall, to the bottom line, we are still in industry somewhere in loss, not totally recovered.
Right. All right, Mr. Vitlani, thank you so much for speaking to us at NDTV Profit and confirming that for us. In fact, let's get in Atul Chaturvedi, Executive Chairman of Sri Renuka Sugars as well, to get a perspective as to how it will impact, the company as well. Mr. Chaturvedi, good afternoon. Now that we have confirmation that OMCs have gone ahead and increased the prices of ethanol from C-heavy molasses, how does it benefit you as well as how would it benefit the industry?
No, I'm sure it is definitely going to benefit the industry, because C molasses at around 49 rupees or thereabouts per litre was not making too much of a sense. And I'm sure the marketing companies probably realized that if they need to give some incentive, as it is, the cane juice ethanol is practically banned and B-heavy was also banned. So it made definitely it made sense, and we were all expecting this announcement to come, because the industry has been in a dialogue with the government, and it makes sense for them to incentivize C. Otherwise, the whole program would have got scuttled a big time. But now with this announcement, probably, I think this year's blending ratio may get impacted only marginally, not big time. But definitely it is not going to be as much as what it was last year, for sure. So it's a welcome move from the government.
Right. A quick question on, when we were talking to ISTA as well, what they've indicated is that because there's a possibility of C molasses to have 50% export duty, so basically you're saying that the sugar mills will not export much, but some of it will be diverted to the domestic industry as well to make ethanol. This arbitrage, how will it work in favor of the companies?
No, frankly speaking, it really doesn't make sense to be exporting molasses. In fact, the other day at the ISMA conference, the Secretary to Government of India actually said that 25% of the world's molasses trade is actually via India, through India. So it doesn't make, and on one side we need more ethanol and more green fuel and renewable fuel, and at the other side we are exporting, and the price at which the export contracts were actually getting done was closer to about 12 and a half rupees per kilo of molasses. So that made exports much more viable. Just like sugar exports were viable and the government clamped down on the same. So I think it makes eminent sense either to ban exports of molasses totally or to make it absolutely unviable by a very high duty.
Right.
And we're expecting the government is going to be responding to this.
Right. So I think all of this is something that we should be watching out for as well. Thank you, Mr. Chaturvedi, so much for joining us on the show on such a short notice. We will come back to you for a detailed chat on how this will change the game for the sugar sector as well. So that's with regards to where the sugar industry goes. Clearly, some smart moves coming in as we speak. But let's quickly slip into a short break. Lots more lined up on the other side. Please stay tuned to NDTV Profit.
welcome back. This is Hot Money, and we shift focus to stocks now. And we start off with that by introducing our expert for today. We have Gaurang Shah. He's the head of investment strategies at Geojit Financial Services. Gaurang, good afternoon, and thanks so much for joining in. I'm going to start by taking up the first stock, and that's GAIL. We understand that PNGRB, that's Petroleum and Natural Gas Regulatory Board, has set a tariff for GAIL KG pipeline, and that's been lowered, which means consumers will have lower gas prices. Of course, it's a positive for consumers, but what does it mean for GAIL? Well, at the moment, at least the street does see this as a positive, naturally, because it could potentially mean an improvement in volumes, and the lower tariffs may not necessarily have too much of an impact when it comes to top line and hence its earnings per share. But Gaurang, how are you seeing this development on GAIL, and what is your view here? And in terms of an investment bet as well, how are you approaching GAIL?
Thank you, Agam, and good afternoon to all of you. Also, as a disclosure on the fundamental side, we have a positive coverage on the buy side on Gas Authority of India, that is GAIL. These kind of news flows always propel volumes on the higher side. And if you have to look at the long-term consequences, then I don't think this is going to have any meaningful impact. Short-term, news-based driven reaction could be seen on the counter. But purely with the consumption going up, our sense is that companies operating in this sector should do reasonably well from a long-term point of view.
Right, so that's with regards to GAIL. Interesting moves, 55% up move coming in from a 6-month perspective. But moving on, another stock that is in focus as well in terms of today's session is a Kalpataru Projects. 8% up move on the back of an order win. But before this, we did speak to the management as well with regards to what the outlook is. Let's quickly listen into that conversation.
Our order book currently, the way the split stands, is roughly 60% is coming from domestic markets and 40% is coming from international markets. Increasingly, we want to take our other verticals and segments overseas, as I mentioned to you a little while ago, and hopefully we should balance this to 50-50 in the next 12 to 24 months, and that's what our endeavor is.
Right, Gaurang, Kalpataru Projects, you heard the conversation as well. An order worth little over 3,200 crores is what they've got. How would you look at this counter, and what would your advice be?
So, firstly, Hiral, I think the sector is going to go through major changes for good. And my sense is that locally, of course, you will have plenty of opportunity, but there is equal opportunity globally as well, as we were listening into the management. So my advice to your viewers and investors would be that all strong balance sheet with strong businesses and management, I don't think you should ignore them. You should keep them on the radar. And whenever opportunity arises, you should just go ahead and grab it.
Right. And of course, we also have the consummation news with respect to Tata Consumers, where Tata Coffee becomes a wholly owned subsidiary. It is a subsidiary of Tata Consumers, but it merges with Tata Consumers. Gaurang, we knew about this a while back. We now have the record dates, which is also in place now, and Tata Consumers will be the key holder of Tata Coffee as well. How would you approach Tata Consumers with respect to the other FMCG companies here on?
So FMCG has been one of the sectors which is quite highlighted in our universe of coverage. India is and always remain a consumption-driven story, Agam. And I think it was only prudent to take this step. I was always of the belief that having two different businesses catering to the same segment leads to a lot of chaos and confusion. Bringing two businesses together makes a very healthy, strong balance sheet with different products to offer. On the fundamental side, we've been covering Tata Consumer Products for a pretty long period of time. And I think this merger should open up more opportunities for the business to grow.
Stay with us, Gaurang. We'll slip into a short break. On the other side, a lot more in terms of what we want to talk about. Stay tuned to NDTV Profit.
It was among the biggest news of 2023, making big headlines across the markets in the corporate sector and opposition parties trying to latch on to the issue. Yes, we are talking about the fall and rise of the Adani Group following the ambush from short seller Hindenburg allegations. Now, the Adani Group withstood all the shocks, fought back and restored confidence. The group signed off the year with a renewed commitment to push growth. Vikas Anna takes us through this remarkable comeback story and the journey from then to now. Let's listen in.
साल 2023 अदानी ग्रुप के लिए काफी एक्शन भरा रहा। इस पूरे साल के दौरान ग्रुप को लेकर कई खबरें आई। हम एक एक करके पूरी टाइमलाइन को देखेंगे कि कब कब क्या खबर आई और उस पर स्टॉक ने कैसे रिएक्ट किया। सबसे पहले 9 जनवरी 2023 जब अदानी ग्रुप का मार्केट कैप अपने हाईएस्ट लेवल पे था, यानी 19,41,000 करोड़ रुपए का मार्केट कैप था अदानी ग्रुप का 9 जनवरी 2023 को। इसके बाद 25 जनवरी को शॉर्ट सेलर हिंडनबर्ग की तरफ से एक रिपोर्ट आती है जिसमें अदानी ग्रुप पर कुछ एलिगेशंस लगाए जाते हैं। इस एलिगेशन के बाद ग्रुप के शेयरों में थोड़ी गिरावट देखने को मिलती है और मार्केट कैप घटकर 18,19,000 करोड़ रुपए पर आ जाता है। 25 जनवरी को ही ग्रुप की तरफ से ये कहा गया कि हमारे एफपीओ यानी हमारे फॉलो ऑन पब्लिक ऑफर को नुकसान पहुंचाने के लिए ये रिपोर्ट पब्लिश की गई है। इसके बाद 27 जनवरी को अदानी ग्रुप का $2.45 बिलियन का ये एफपीओ खुलता है। 28 जनवरी को ग्रुप ने ये कहा कि हमारे एफपीओ को लेकर जो प्लान है उसमें कोई बदलाव नहीं है। इसके बाद 29 जनवरी को अदानी ग्रुप की तरफ से 413 पेज का एक रिबटल पब्लिश किया जाता है जिसमें हिंडनबर्ग के आरोपों पर पॉइंट वाइज एक जवाब दिया गया है, जिससे बताया गया है कि ग्रुप पर लगाए गए आरोप कैसे सही नहीं हैं। इसके बाद 31 जनवरी को जो ये एफपीओ है, जो देश का सबसे बड़ा एफपीओ है, वो फुली सब्सक्राइब हो जाता है, यानी पूरी तरह भर जाता है 31 जनवरी 2023 को। फुली सब्सक्राइब होने के बावजूद अदानी ग्रुप ने 1 फरवरी को यह ऐलान किया कि वो एफपीओ को वापस ले रहे हैं। अदानी ग्रुप के चेयरमैन गौतम अडानी ने यह कहा कि मार्केट के उथल पुथल के बीच हमें नैतिक रूप से यह सही नहीं लगा कि हम इस एफपीओ को कंटिन्यू करें, इसलिए बोर्ड ने यह फैसला किया है। इसके साथ साथ उन्होंने 2 अहम बातें कही। उन्होंने ये कहा कि इसका कोई असर हमारे ऑपरेशंस पर नहीं पड़ेगा और साथ में उन्होंने ये भी कहा कि हमारे बिजनेस प्लान फुली फंडेड हैं। इसके बाद 2 मार्च को एक बड़ी डेवलपमेंट होती है जब जीक्यूजी पार्टनर अदानी ग्रुप के अंदर $1.87 बिलियन का निवेश करता है और इसके बदले 8.2 मिलियन शेयर्स वो खरीदते हैं। अब यहां पर अगर आप देखेंगे तो मार्केट कैप 19,41,000 करोड़ रुपए से घटकर 8,51,000 करोड़ रुपए पर आ चुका है। यहां पर आप देखें 2 मार्च को। इसके बाद 2 मार्च को एक और डेवलपमेंट होती है जब सुप्रीम कोर्ट एक एक्सपर्ट कमेटी का पैनल गठित करता है और कहता है कि आप हिंडनबर्ग के आरोपों की जांच करें। इसके साथ साथ वो सेबी से भी कहता है कि आप अपने जो आपकी जांच चल रही है उसके आउटकम को हमें बताएं। इसके बाद 27 मार्च को सुप्रीम कोर्ट में एक और डेवलपमेंट होती है जब वो डीआरआई की तरफ से जो पिटीशंस फाइल होती हैं अदानी ग्रुप के सब्सिडरीज पर, उसे सुप्रीम कोर्ट डिसमिस करती है। 29 अप्रैल को सेबी सुप्रीम कोर्ट पहुंचती है और ये कहती है कि हमें जांच के लिए थोड़ा और समय चाहिए। 2 मई को इसका विरोध पिटिशनर्स की तरफ से किया जाता है कि सेबी को जांच के लिए और समय नहीं दिया जाना चाहिए। इसके बाद मई के महीने में तीसरे हफ्ते में सुप्रीम कोर्ट के पैनल ने अपनी रिपोर्ट को फाइल किया और ये कहा कि हमें कोई ठोस सबूत हिंडनबर्ग के आरोपों में नहीं मिले। हमने जो जांच की उसमें हमें ठोस सबूत नहीं मिले। इसके साथ साथ उन्होंने 2 बातें कही। उन्होंने ये कहा कि अदानी ग्रुप ने इन्वेस्टर्स का कॉन्फिडेंस रीस्टोर करने के लिए कई अहम कदम उठाए। साथ साथ उन्होंने ये भी कहा कि फॉरेन एंटिटीज ने इस बीच में शॉर्ट सेलिंग करके काफी पैसे कमाए हैं। 14 अगस्त को सेबी वापस सुप्रीम कोर्ट पहुंचती है और ये कहती है कि हमें जांच के लिए थोड़ा और समय चाहिए क्योंकि हमें विदेशों से भी जानकारी जांच के लिए मंगानी पड़ रही है और उसमें समय लग रहा है। 31 अगस्त को ओसीसीआरपी की तरफ से एक रिपोर्ट आती है अदानी ग्रुप के ऊपर जिसमें फिर से अदानी ग्रुप पर कुछ आरोप लगाए जाते हैं। 2 सितंबर को अदानी ग्रुप ओसीसीआरपी के आरोपों को रिजेक्ट करती है, कहती है कि ये आरोप सही नहीं है। इसके बाद कुछ आरोप और आते हैं और ग्रुप के ऊपर वो आरोप लगाए जाते हैं। कुछ खबरें भी आती हैं, फाइनेंशियल टाइम्स में कुछ खबरें आती हैं, लेकिन इसके साथ साथ आप अगर देखेंगे तो मार्केट कैप घटता जा रहा है और एक उतार चढ़ाव मार्केट कैप में एक तरह से दिख रहा है। 11 लाख करोड़ के आसपास का मार्केट कैप इस वक्त आपको दिख रहा है। फिर 24 नवंबर का दिन आता है और सुप्रीम कोर्ट दोनों पक्षों की सुनवाई के बाद अपने फैसले को रिजर्व रखती है। इसके साथ साथ सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने अपना रुख भी इस दिन साफ कर दिया और यहां से ग्रुप के शेयरों में एक बार फिर से तेजी देखने को मिलती है और मार्केट कैप धीरे धीरे बढ़ता है। फिर 5 दिसंबर को यूएस गवर्नमेंट की तरफ से, अमेरिकी सरकार की तरफ से एक पॉजिटिव खबर आती है जब वो हिंडनबर्ग के लगाए गए आरोपों को इररिलेवेंट कहते हैं। जो अडानी ग्रुप के ऊपर आरोप हिंडनबर्ग ने लगाए थे उसे वो इररिलेवेंट बताते हैं। इसके बाद 26 दिसंबर को अडानी ग्रुप के प्रमोटर्स ने ये ऐलान किया कि वो अडानी ग्रीन के अंदर, जो उनकी सब्सिडरी कंपनी है, उसके अंदर 9,350 करोड़ रुपए का निवेश करेंगे। तो ये था पूरा सम अप साल 2023 में अडानी ग्रुप के लिए।